Hi guys, it's Kira Elric back with another tutorial. Here we're going to learn how to do a basic stitch. It's a simple seam. For this I need to set my sewing machine to the middle option. I showed you guys that earlier, that I can adjust whether I'm at the left, the middle, or the right. And depending on where I was on my sewing machine, depends on the smaller stitch. That's not how this works with this machine. That works how it works with my old machine. But I'm going to put together the lining for my kimono for Izuku. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking two pieces of fabric, the wrong sides, or the sides that I want to be hidden, or facing each other, and I'm going to line them up. So I'm going to put it underneath my machine. Most people sew with pins, meaning they would take a pin and they would pin the two sides together. I don't sew with pins, but I guess for the purpose of this tutorial I will put a few in just so you guys know how that looks. This is simply pinning the edges together so they're flush. Be careful, they're sharp. These kinds of pins with the ball on the end are called quilter's pins. I prefer quilter's pins because, despite the fact that I'm not quilting, grabbing the ball at the end makes it much easier to pull them in and out of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and the thread that I have in my machine right now does not match this fabric. Because it's a lining, it matches the thread of my actual kimono. So I'm going to start and I'm going to let it go a few stitches. Then I'm going to press the reverse button and I'm going to back up. And then I'm going forward again. Doing that is called back tacking, and it makes the very beginning of your seam stronger. So then what you're going to do is you're just going to make sure that everything stays lined up, and you're going to sew. And as you can see, I'm sewing right over the pins. Don't be afraid. You can sew right over the pins. Nothing bad is going to happen. Now, if you were to match up your seam line with the line that's right here that you can't really see because the camera's too far away, but there's a line right there. That would give you a 1/2 inch hem. I sew things with a 1/4 inch hem, and in order to know what a 1/4 inch is, if I line my fabric up with the exact edge of my sewing foot, it will give me a 1/4 inch hem. I do that because that was how they wanted us to do it when I worked professionally. So I'm just going to see how it starts to grab. If it grabs the needle, you just stop, pull it out. No big deal. And you just hold the fabric. I have my one hand down here at the edge of the fabric, holding it like this, just kind of pinching it together, and I'll hold the other fabric back here to guide it. The trick is I am not pulling on the fabric to get it to go through the machine. The feed dogs will pull it on its own. The most important thing I can ever tell you about sewing is to let the machine do the work. You don't need to tug it through. It's not necessary. So you just kind of hold it and let it go. And see what I'm doing with my thumb and my finger is I have it in a way that I let it pull through my finger, but I'm still holding it taut. So it's a grip you'll learn it as you sew for longer periods of time, but I'll let it go, and I'll start to let it go over my hand, and I'll stop if I need to actually move the fabric and line everything back up with itself. Now, feel free to go faster than this. The only reason I'm going this slow is because, as you probably noticed when I picked up speed a couple times, it shakes the living crap out of this table, and then you guys wouldn't get a good picture. And what's the fun in learning if you can't see what I'm doing? So again, you just kind of hold the fabric really lightly. You don't have to tug, you don't have to pull. I'm just lightly pressing on the pedal. I'm not pulling it through. I'm letting the feed dogs do it. Because, see, here, watch. Without touching the fabric, see? It'll pull it through on its own. I just gotta let it do the work. The only thing my other hand is doing is guiding the material so that it stays where I want it to. That's all it's doing. Stop, and I'm gonna press the reverse button and back up again, and then I'm gonna go forward again, reverse a little, and back up. You want to back tack on the beginning of your stitch and the end of your stitch. Now that you're gonna pull it a little bit so you have some space, and then just take your scissors and clip it. And sorry about that, guys. That is a basic stitch. Basic straight stitch. And then you take the pins out, put them back in the pin cushion, because stepping on them hurts a lot. And then of course, the last thing you do, come back to your beginning of your stitch, trim any loose threads, because loose threads are not helpful. So then, this now is your seam. This is the hem now down the back of my kimono. So the next thing I'm going to do is this part. See, you can kind of see the curve right here. This part is the shoulder. So what I'm going to do, this is the shoulder. So I'm going to turn this so the side I want on the inside, so the good hem, that's what it looks like, this one, is facing towards me. So then I'm going to take the side of the fabric that I want to feel against me. And make it so that they're touching together. Okay, so since this is a kimono, this line is a slant. The slant you want facing towards the inside because it's where the collar goes. So that means this one, this is the top, and this is the shoulder. So you're gonna take it and match your shoulder hems up. After taking your shoulder hems and matching them up, you'll slide it under the foot, drop the foot, and you'll do the same thing. You'll start, back up, and then go back over it. Now this is a personal habit. This is the starting thread. I will personally make sure that it is behind my foot. You don't have to, it's just something that I've found in the past that if it's too long, it'll get wrapped around the foot and it'll start pulling. So to just prevent that from happening, I just pull it out if it's there. Again, I'm only putting in a 1/4 inch hem. Most things suggest a 1/2 inch or 5/8 hem, which is much bigger than what I'm doing. If you wanted a 5/8 hem, you would line right here on my machine. But I don't prefer that. That's just my personal quirk of how I like to sew. So again, I'm at the end of the hem. I'm going to stop, back up, go forward. And that's called back tacking. And then trim my things free. I'm also going in, trimming anything that's loose, free. So then, what we're going to do is match this up along the side, take it all the way down to the bottom. Once it's matched up, like, it doesn't have to be completely perfect, but the closer it is, the more successful you will be. We'll start and do another seam and go forward, backwards, forwards again. And see what it's doing now. My seams aren't lined up. The edges, they're not lined up, so this one is pulling in. So what we're going to do is we're just going to push it out a little bit and make sure that at the very least I'm lined up with the edge of my sewing foot. Still can't really see it. The light blurs it out. But by being lined up with the edge of my sewing foot, I know I'm putting in a 1/4 inch hem. Now, I've got to be careful in some spots because the fabric dipped in when I cut it, so I didn't get a perfectly straight cut. So I just have to be conscious and aware of where I'm sewing. There you go. That's straight. Is this is a kimono. Kimonos don't have such traditional sleeve holes. So I'm going to have to pick a spot on the kimono itself, and I'm going to put a pin there, and that's where I'm going to stop sewing. that will be the end of my seam, because that is where I will mark it as what's going to be the sleeve hole. So I'm just going to keep sewing, nice and slow. Again, you don't have to go slow. I normally sew much faster than this, but for the purpose of a tutorial and not shaking the living shit out of my camera so you guys can see what I'm doing, I'm not. See? No. This pin is where I've marked it so that it's going to be the sleeve hole. So I'm going to stop, back up, and go forward. And that's back tacking. Back tacking will keep and preserve your stitching longer. And then clip and clip. Make sure you go all the way down to the bottom. And clip. And clip. So then, what we'll do, we'll match the sleeve, the shoulders up again. Down the shoulder, corner, corner, match them up. The slant of the kimono goes to the inside because that is the collar. You start, back up, go forward. Your ends up. Keep going forward. And that's a finished seam. This is the kind of sewing I will do when I know I'm going to line something. By what I mean by lining is I will make two of the same garment and sew them together so that the raw edges are facing on the inside and can't be seen. What I mean by raw edge is this jagged part. This jagged part where it's unfinished and it's not being covered is the raw edge. This part, this seam right here, is what will show. This is the inside, it's the lining of my kimono, so this is what will be against my body. So now, what I'm going to do is a little different from what I did last time. Now, what I got to do is I have to take one shoulder seam and the other shoulder seam, and I got to match them up. Kind of fold it in half a little bit. Because what I got to do, find where I marked it for my sleeve, and then find that spot on the seam that's not sewn yet and mark it. Because we started at the bottom last time, this time we'll start at the top. So that means where the pin is where I'm going to start. And I'm going to sew all the way down to the bottom. So to make sure that my seams are in the same spot, I folded it in half. Start, back up, keep going. Now, just because you're watching me sew without pins does not mean you have to sew without pins. By all means, when I started sewing, I always used pins. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I don't use them anymore. So please, 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 if you feel the need to sew with pins, sew with pins. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Now, we're just going to keep going, and we're going to do this seam, and make sure everything's laying flat. You don't want to accidentally sew in a wrinkle. Want to make sure that nothing's rolled over. And just keep doing a normal straight stitch. That's what this is called. This is straight line sewing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with straight line sewing. Most work is straight line sewing. And keep matching your edges up as you work your way down until you get to the bottom. Sorry that the camera angle keeps changing. The table keeps shaking and it keeps moving everything around. I'm filming! That was my husband. He was just telling me he loved me. You're just going to keep doing your straight line stitch until you get all the way to the bottom. Bottom, stop, back up, go forward, back tack that edge, because doing that will help you loads. I can't emphasize how important it is to back tack. I used to not do that with my sewing because I didn't know what it was, and ever since I started, everything has lasted much, much longer. So we're going to find the pin, pull the pin out, and then we're just gonna clip the string, and now what we've done is we can turn it to the correct side. Now what we've done is we've made a sleeve sleeve hole. We've sewn together the side. And we've sewn together the shoulder. And we also sewed together the back, and all of your bad seams, your raw edges, are on the inside, so no one's going to see those. So the one last thing I'm going to teach you guys, since this is the lining, I'm not putting sleeves on it. So by not putting sleeves on it, that means I need to hem the sleeve holes. So what I like to do with sleeve holes, firstly let me put that on and make sure it's not going to pull. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, what I like to do is I'll start down here. This is the armpit. That's where this is going to rest. I'll start down here. And I'm going to teach you how to do something I call a rolling hem. So what you do, you have one layer of it folded over. So you're going to take one layer of the fabric, fold it over, and then you're going to fold that layer over again. And so that the raw edge is on the inside. The raw edge is here now. And then you're going to drop that foot on it. And you're going to roll this. It's basically one fold, two fold. That's what you're doing. And what that does is it creates a nice finished edge, and the raw edge is sealed away. So then what you'll do is you'll start, and what I generally do is this line right here, that's the edge of my seam, I will line it up with where the two parts of my feet meet. So I'm just going to start and keep going, and as you noticed, I did not back tack this. There's a reason for that, and I'll get there when we get, and I'll explain it when we get there. But again, once you start doing this with a rolled hem, one, two, one fold, two fold, the fabric will start to do it itself. So try to keep everything at the same measurement. If it's not, that's fine. It's not going to be perfect the first time you do it. But the more you do it, the easier it will get. And again, it's just a straight stitch. I follow the edge. You gotta pin it, that's fine. Go ahead. See, I'm halfway done. I brought it to one seam and I stopped. I like to do with rolled hems that I know are in a circle is I'll clip my starting threads before I even get to them. So I've rolled again, and I'm going to keep going. Just nice and slow, match it up, stop, roll the hem again, and keep going forward. So now, that I'm coming up to the end, the hem is already rolled. It's rolling naturally because of the way the fabric is already folded. So I'm just going to keep going, nice and slow, trying to stay as close to the edge as I possibly can. Keep going. I'm going to go right over that itty bitty small spot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get back on the line that I originally sewed and keep going over it. This is another form of back tacking. So what I did is I sealed the stitching by going over it twice. And then clip your threads so you're free, and now you have a nice finished edge. So find the other side. Instead of the sleeve hole looking like this, where it's raw edges and it hasn't been finished, now you have this as edge. You can see how there's no raw edges showing. It's because we folded them under and they're hidden away. So you would now do the other side and put them together. So that is how you do a basic straight line stitch and how you do a rolled hem on a sleeve. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. If you like these kinds of tutorial videos and you want me to keep teaching you about sewing, drop me a line in the comments and tell me what other things you guys would like to learn. And if you want these kinds of videos to keep coming, consider supporting me on my Patreon. I'll leave a link for you. Thank you so much. I'm happy you all tuned in. Love life, love cosplay, guys. Bye.